going on, everybody? Welcome back to Under Wraps. Today's video is going to be about doing my makeup, but at the same time as telling you all about my coming out story.
Hold up. You're gonna tell them what?
Yeah, I'm going to be telling them about my coming out story.
I don't even know if they're ready for that kind of story. Are you ready for that kind of story?
I don't know even if I'm ready to tell the story, but who knows?
Well, it's a good story, but someone's calling. See you all in a second.
Okay, bye. Anyway, so today's video is going to be about me doing my makeup at the same time as telling you all about my coming out story. And without further ado, let's begin. The first part is to moisturize your face. We're gonna let that sit for the next few minutes and we'll be right back. All right, everybody, now that we're back and our face is now moisturized, now we're gonna prime it. So throughout this process, I'm gonna be telling you all a story about how everything came to be. It's gonna be a little bit of a tough story to tell. Not that it has like any bad endings, it's very tough sometimes to talk about. So we're gonna start. We're gonna apply our foundation. I remember I grew up going to private school, and private Catholic school, that is. And so during this time, during this process, I had a lot of crushes, I would say, and they were just very different. Like I realized, sorry, my hair is really crazy right now, by the way. So I just realized that something was just different. I don't know, like I liked a lot of girls, you know, and that's the way that I grew up. And so it wasn't until 7th grade where I had my first girlfriend, my first real girlfriend, by the way. And so during this process, things got a little complicated for me because I started to realize that I liked this girl, but in all honesty, it was different. It was hard because I realized something was just odd. Like I liked this girl, but I didn't like her like that, you know? And so it was very hard for me to be emotionally available to this girl, and I realized that I just wasn't as into it as I thought I was. And so we broke up, unfortunately, and we moved on. Fast forwarding to mostly to high school, I went to an all-male private school and things were different. I didn't have a lot of crushes. Everything was just different. Boys suck. Sorry, not sorry. At the same time, it was just different. It was a different time and I was very confused in who I was. I had a crush on this guy, and apparently years later I came to find out that he did too. But obviously because we were really young, nothing came about it. And eventually that kind of faded as he moved away and went to a different school right after our first year. And ever since that point in my life, I felt like I felt odd. I felt something was really different about me in general, and it was just really hard. And so I was like, what is going on? I guess I would say I had a lot of Catholic guilt, because growing up, both going to private school, elementary and high school, we really have this sense of like, what the hell's going on with their life, you know? Like people I thought would treat me differently, people were going to look at me differently, and they did. You know, there's a lot of bullying in an all-guys school, and especially it's really hard. You would think it'd be easy for guys to come out, but sometimes it's really hard, especially in an all-guys school. And even though we did have a lot of our sister school bonding experiences, I came to a realization that, you know, I think something's different. And so, but at this time also, like, even though things were different, I was like, you know what, let me give this a try, you know? And so I kept trying different things during this time, and what I was trying was, I was like, okay, maybe it's just a type of girl. So I would go on to date a few more people throughout my high school process, and again, I found myself having a hard time to kiss them, having a hard time to understand them. Like, don't get me wrong, I was a great boyfriend. I was really attentive, I could really listen, I could sit there and understand, but there was this sense of avoidance that I just couldn't do the things that I would think a normal boyfriend would do. Like, for example, it took me like 1 month to kiss somebody one time. Not because of like, I was nervous or anything, but I couldn't get myself to like kiss them. Not because they were ugly or anything, but just because I couldn't love them that way. And so I kept trying to figure out this whole sense of what love is, and lo and behold, just eventually I just kind of like started to realize like, okay, Ricky, stop, relax. You don't need to be doing any of that. You know, not like, just be real with yourself. Be honest, something's different. We don't know what it is. Like, we don't know what it is, but we'll come to figure it out as time goes. And during this process, it was very interesting because I had some friends that were, I had good friends in high school, okay? And I also was just very aware of my surroundings, and I knew in order to survive high school, sometimes you had to keep your mouth shut. And so regardless if I knew that I was different or not, I had to keep my mouth shut. And even if people kind of knew that I was gay or I was different, I always hid it. I wasn't necessarily very good at hiding it, but I was hiding it, you know? And so during this process, I began to realize that I wasn't being myself. And it wasn't until my senior year of high school where I had my last girlfriend, and I was thinking to myself, like, what is going on with my life? Like, who am I? Do I want to live this way? Do I want to be real with myself? Or who is Ricky in general? And that's when I went on a little bit of a retreat with my senior class. And I thought to myself, I had this whole moment where I was thinking to myself, what do I see myself as in the future? Like, what do I really want to achieve with my life? And it wasn't until that very moment where I began to realize, like, okay, it's time to just be real with yourself and just say, like, it is what it is. And so eventually I went to college. And again, you all know that I went to Sonoma State University. And I was living a double life where I was Ricky, but it was different. It was a different sense of life. Not that like people, like my very close friends knew that I had come out to them, because I had come out to my friends before my family. And I had again lived a double life my first year because I was like living my best life over there and coming to figure out who I am here. And it was just different. My good friends here knew, and everybody at Sonoma State knew that I was gay. And I wasn't nervous over there, but it was a sense of knowing that people around me could judge me, that even though that they knew me, it was just, you know. And so this is a bronzer. And so throughout this process, I'm gonna sculpt my face now. Throughout this process, I began to really realize that I shouldn't be living a double life, one, but I was scared. And so I was scared of judgment, but the scariest thing is I was more scared of myself. I was more scared of the person that I saw in the mirror coming out and being hated for my entire life rather than being true to myself. And growing up, obviously again in a Catholic private school, I was just scared. I was nervous. I was like, you know, people have always talked about growing up in the city and how easy it was and how nice it was. Well, everyone has different reactions to things, you know? And so it wasn't until my second year where I was teaching. I was a TA, or a peer mentor, in one of my classes. The professor assigned this project for the students to do, in which they had to decide like 3 to 5 different songs, and based on those 3 to 5 different songs, they had to talk about an event that they basically associate with that song. And so I had talked about, you know, who I am. I had different songs about coming out, and one of my students had raised their hand and said, "Hey, so, you know, you're telling us about this, but how did your parents take it? I'm just curious." And so that's when I was like, oh, they don't know, you know, because they didn't know. And so at the time, it really surprised me because so I'm teaching a class about globalization and identity issues. And so he called me out, not necessarily in a bad way, but I was called out, and he said, "But if you're teaching us this about identity, then why are you so essentially it was like, why are you teaching us about identity issues if you couldn't figure out your own identity, you know?" And so I thought about it for a second, and it wasn't until I was growing up where I was like, well, you can only take somebody as far as you've been, meaning like, if you haven't dealt with your own shit, how can you help with somebody else's shit, you know? And so that's been something that's been going through my mind for a very long time in my life, is, you know, people ask me so much for advice and relationship advice and emotional support, which I'm glad about, you know? I don't know how this is coming out. But I really hope this is coming out nicely because it's kind of crazy in this. But anyway, moving forward. So basically, it wasn't until that point in my life where I began to realize that, like, okay, it's time. And I was scared to do it, but I went home that weekend and I talked to my mom and I was like, Mama, and I remember having a conversation with her and I was like, Mom, I know I told you that I was bisexual, because I did tell her like a long time ago that I was bisexual, but I told her, I was like, Mom, I'm gay, and she was like, okay. I kind of knew. She's like, first reaction was, I guess I finally have a daughter, because I've always wanted a sister, but I have all three siblings are boys. And so it was different. It was a very different feeling. Like, I was nervous, but I wasn't as scared anymore. Like, I was just much more like, okay, well, she reacted a good way. And telling my dad was a whole different situation because, well, my dad grew up differently, I would say. And so I was more scared to tell him than anybody else. And telling my siblings was a very interesting process as well, because one day they overheard me talking to my mom about, you know, situations about men, and then they kind of were like, what? They overheard. And then they were like, we love you. And I'm like, oh my God, you love me still, even after knowing that I'm basically a diva princess queen? They're like, yeah, we love you. I'm like, oh my God. That was easy. And I was nervous, going crazy in my own head about, you know, how they would take it, considering we're just all different. We're all very different siblings. Like, we all have different ways of going about our issues and our problems. And so that's kind of something that really made me, I would say, nervous. But it worked out for the best. And eventually my dad found out, because my mom had told him, because I had told her to tell him, because I was much more scared to see his reaction. And my dad's reaction was basically a pretty good one. He brought me into the room one day. He was like asking me like what was going on and why hadn't I told him directly. And I was like, well, because you grew up a little differently and I thought that she would basically hate me. And he was like, well, you're my son, I couldn't really hate you. And so he's like, the only reason he was disappointed, and the only reason he was disappointed in me was because I hadn't told him myself, and I hadn't told him directly. And I had told everybody and their mama before telling my dad, so he was basically one of the very last people to know. So he was like, well, he was hurt only at the fact that he had been one of the very last people to know. And that was the only reason he was upset. So other than that, he's been very supportive, and everyone's been very supportive, and so I'm very grateful for that, I would say. And talking about it makes me a little emotional, only because I know that I was really scared. Like, I had been scared for years about, you know, I had been scared for years about what everybody was going to think, and how everybody was going to react, who I was going to lose, what was going to happen with my life. Was I going to have to move out? Was I going to have to like disappear? And I was just very emotional. I just remember being very emotional until this day, you know, being someone that is seen as other. And there's a lot of others in our life, you know, there's a lot of people that see themselves as like, I just don't belong, you know, something's different about me. And I just want to say that if you feel that you are considered other and you aren't fulfilling those societal norms, I would say, it's okay. You know, eventually we all come to a realization that we are different, and it's amazing to be different. We're extraordinary as people. That's amazing. If you don't fit into any certain category, amazing. That means that you're different, you're great, you're extraordinary. And that's something that I had to come to realize, is that I am someone that's amazing, I'm beautiful, I'm great, I'm smart, I'm loving, I'm caring, and I'm just so many different things. But still, till this day, there's always been this sense of anxiety, and there's been this sense of, oh my God, my life is different than everybody else's, and I'm going through a journey that's specific to me, and we're all going through a journey that's specific to us, and that's okay. Who wants to be the same, you know? I don't want to have the same life as other people. I just want to live my life, you know? And I hope you all do too, because at the end of the day, we're all beautiful people. We're all great people. And for me, it just took me up until I was in my early 20s I'm now 25, so it wasn't that long ago. I'm not that old. But it wasn't until recently where I began to realize, like, I am my own person. I am a great person. We're all great people. And just because I'm gay doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a bad person, you know? We just have to be our beautiful, great, and amazing selves. And by the way, I am not a makeup artist. I'm just doing this because this is what I normally do to my face all the time. But I love it. I love being 100% authentic Ricky. And I know some may say that life is crazy and we're all full of mysteries, but it's great to be a mystery, okay? It is such a great thing to be a mystery in life. Because again, nobody has to be the same. We're all going through our same journey. Smile because you don't own all the problems of the world. We're just all living our own journey. And you're living your own journey. I'm living my own journey. And we all have struggles. We all have things that make us different. So we have to honor them and just live them out and be happy and figure out who we are and stuff, you know? Anyway, so moving on from that, that was my coming out story. For the most part, I just want to say that we're all different and it's great to be different, and we all have things that make us us. We all have we're all scared at some point of our lives to talk about certain things. For some people, you know, we all have what we call skeletons in our closet, and we all go through certain things that we're, again, scared to talk about with different people. And so if you have a certain thing that you're very scared to talk about, you know, in life, it's okay. We all have different things that we're scared to talk about. For me, it was about my coming out story and coming to a realization about, you know, who I am, about, you know, what my life was going to come to in the end. If I was still going to be able to have friends, have a family. That was my stress. And in the end, I think it made me a better person to talk about those things. Because even though I was really scared to talk about it, I really understood myself that much more. So if you have something in your life that you're like really stressed about and you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this, I'm telling you now you can, you know. And if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. I'm definitely here. You can definitely message me on any of my social media platforms. Let's chat. I promise you I'm not a crazy person. I'm just here to help and understand people. And my end goal in life is to also be a counselor. So, you know, sometimes we all just need someone to talk to and understand us, because sometimes we don't even understand our damn selves. You know, we live in a world where everybody just kind of does their own thing, and, you know, it's scary. It's scary to be you. You're 100% you sometimes. So, again, if you need somebody to talk to, please feel free. Again, I'm always available. Hit me up on all my social media platforms, and eventually we'll talk about that more in depth, okay? I'm not gonna, just by the way, I'm not gonna do a full face because I absolutely hate doing my eyes, so I won't be touching my eyes at the moment. Trust me, I'm really bad at eyes, and this YouTube video will be an epic fail if I end up doing my eyes. So if you want to teach me how to help me with my eyes, let me know and we can chit chat. But other than that, I'm really horrible at doing anything with my eyes. So anyway, moral of the story is, again, have fun with your life. And if you've gotten this far in the video, then thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed today's video. As far as that goes, that's how far I'm gonna do my eyebrows, because again, I'm really horrible. Now we're just gonna do a little bit of gloss and call it a day. To me, we all have struggles, and it doesn't necessarily, again, have to be about being gay. It can be about different things that we have to face every day of our lives. But just enjoy your life. At the end of the day, talk to people, make connections, have fun, be yourself. And this is as far as I'm gonna go right now. Adios, mis amores. If you liked today's video, which I hope you all did, don't forget to what? Yes, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please subscribe to this channel. Let's help this channel grow all the way up to 100. Right now, by the time you're watching this, we're at 59 subscribers. If we can get to 65 by the end of next week, awesome. We're gonna have so much to talk about in this channel, and we have a lot to do. I promise you, this video will be posted on Monday, and then I'll be posting another great story on Wednesday. So I'll see you all very soon. And this time I actually will post on Wednesday, I promise you, because I have it all planned out. Sometimes in life you have to come to realize that videos don't always come out the way that you think it is, and sometimes you gotta revamp it, go back to the drawing board. But this time I'm really proud of this next video, and it's really fun. I went somewhere and stuff happened, and you'll have to see. Stay tuned. I'll see you all very soon. Bye! Deuces!